Hello, welcome. I'm going to we have a few people popping in. I hope everyone's having a great end of summer season. Seeing some familiar names. Alex, Janet, Paul. Great to see all you. Thank you for coming. Donnie. Um, yeah, people are filing in here now. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Lacey Shrum. I am the founder of SmartKX. I believe that I know most of you and appreciate you being here and using our product. For anyone who's new to SmartKX this quarter, welcome. This is a great refresher to both existing and new users. We make a lot of changes over the quarter. And because most of our users bill quarterly, this is a great time to refresh what should be done prior. So right now, we're about 10 days before the end of the quarter, and really see our new features. So this is also completely open. So anyone who's attending here, if you have questions or want to see more about a certain thing I'm going to show you, please feel free to type it in the Q&A. We're going to really walk through the pre-billing workflow and highlight some things that we've updated over the last quarter that you may not be aware of, and then show you our Insights tab, which is new this year. We've just made a bunch of additions to it to help you really look at your revenue numbers and your firm as a whole and set goals for the coming year. So with that, we will get started. Okay, so this is our Insights tab, but we're going to prepare you for billing first. So the first thing that we always ask that you do is to look at your prior billing. If you'll remember on the workflow, it used to be mark all invoices paid. And this is important for a lot of reasons. One, it's what sends the data to the Insights tab. And we found that a lot of advisors were missing, while they did submit the fee file to Schwab, there might have been reasons why that fee didn't get paid or come out of the client's account. So we added a new feature this quarter. So if you go to the firm side, all custodians, invoices, you'll see that there's 4 invoices here. One is still marked pending. So we added a new feature this quarter that actually looks for the fees that you calculated, watches for that exact amount to come out of the account as an advisory fee. And if all of the fees on an invoice successfully come out as an advisory fee, the invoices are automatically marked paid. So this means you can use this as a way to confirm that everything that you submitted to the custodian was actually paid. And you can use this step as a way to inquire as to why other fees might not have been. So if you get in here, you see that we have this one Elizabeth Martin invoice that is still marked pending, and that means one of these 3 invoice or fees that we've calculated and sent to the custodian have not been paid. So you can use this as a way to make sure that you are in fact collecting. We come in here at the beginning of the quarter, one's outstanding. In this case, we know what it is. So we are going to mark this one as paid. Are there any questions before I move on to the next? Not seeing any come through. Okay. Want to make sure I'm actually watching where the questions are coming from. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do at the end of the quarter is to go in and look at any new accounts that you have. So new money coming in, new clients coming in. You can click on this account tab here. Uh, again, firm, all custodians, account tab. And it's going to show you a list of accounts coming from the masters that you have connected. And if, of course, if you have any additional masters, all of those will come through. Any account that's on your master from Schwab, Fidelity, elsewhere will come through on this list with you don't need to do anything. And so you can see here that we have a good handful that have no household and no contract. And you can use this query up here to hit no household, and it will show you all of these accounts. So they might be new, they might be leaving employee accounts, but these are the accounts that don't have a household, don't have a contract. They will not be billed. So you want to look at this every quarter before or month before you bill to ensure that every account that you expect to be billed is going to be billed. So let's just say we have Barbara's account. We can click it here, and here's where we can assign it to a household. You can do a drop down here. It'll give you all the households to choose from. You choose the one that it goes with. And this is another new feature that we've added this year is this account funded date. So advisors told us that they would bring on a new account, whether it be existing client, new client, and the account, depending on how they were billing, if they brought on an account in the middle of August, they go to bill in October. That August to October timeline wasn't caught to be calculated, and they might be doing it manually. They might be adding it, running billing separately through our system. You can actually run it individually. So we added this feature that says like you can actually choose the day that you want to start billing on. You have, selection of any day. You can choose. Some advisors do day it was funded, day they signed, day they actually start investing it. But you can choose that date here, assign it to Elizabeth Martin's household, and click save. So before we move on to creating the household or to adding this to a fee scheduler, are there any questions on those features? Okay, so I have a question that says, how do I add an account that is not currently listed? So if you have an account on your Schwab Master, let's say, that is, if it's opened at Schwab and it's on, in this case, this master, the account will be coming through from Schwab. It automatically shows on this list. If you want to add accounts that are not being held at Schwab, like a private equity investment, other things, then you can actually add them through this button and this add button. And this is found on our knowledge base. It'll show you how to add what we call non-custodial assets. So accounts that you don't hold at your custodian that you want to put in the names and the values of. Those instructions will show you how to create those accounts and how to maintain those values anytime that you want to update them. Okay, so now, and then I got another question about a contract number. So this next piece will actually answer that question. So we added the new account to the household, and we want to go over to the household now and add that account so that it actually is calculates the fee. So Barbara Wood here, this is our account. The contract that she currently has is here. So we're going to check it and we're going to hit amend. And this will let us add this new account to the fee schedule. And we're just going to assign it a standard billing schedule. Walk through here. And then we hit amend. So now her account has her contract, which is this contract number right here. This is automatically assigned when you create or amend a contract. This 0006 now has her 3 accounts being billed to the standard, and the fourth account with a flat 80 bips. So one thing that we like to do when we are helping users or we are running billing for them, post pre-billing workflows and walking through adjustments, is once you've made that agreement, it's always great to go in and just see what the calculation is if you were to run it, to ensure that what you expected and thought you put in is actually what it's calculating. And you can do that by hitting this little dollar sign right here. And then inserting the different dates as you're used to. So we'll use yesterday's value, July through September. And this account actually doesn't have anything in it, but you can see the numbers that have calculated, and you'll see that Barbara Woods here, her account is going to be prorated for 50 days. So I believe we put that number sometime in July. Don't do math live, they tell me, but it's prorated for only the days forward from that bill date. And then you can if you just want to look at it to confirm that it's calculating as expected, you just hit this X here. So that gets us through checking the invoices as paid, looking at our orphaned accounts, making sure that they're in a household, in a contract, adding them to a household and contract, checking the billing. I'm going to pause. Any questions so far? Okay, so one question is, when we're running this billing, what happens if you hit submit? And what happens is it's like running billing individually. So if you hit submit, it'll create the invoice and it will put these numbers on the fee file for you to download. So you could, in theory, go through and calculate all your fees individually and calculate the fee due. Is when you hit submit and have a pending invoice, it'll put them on the fee file, or you can do it bulk billing. And then another question on the account for the funding date, can it auto populate on this account funding date here? So when we introduced this, we considered having this account funded date auto populate from the custodian. However, we found that individual advisors determined this date by varying metrics. It could be the day account it was open, the day $1 hit, the day $100,000 hit, and there's just too varied of the decisions that were being made. And so out of all the different options, advisors wanted the one that gave them the choice, even though they have to come in here and adjust it themselves. They wanted that ability to kind of toggle that to something that they felt comfortable with on the date. So this may change if we get enough feedback from advisors who are like, it's always by default, we want it on the open day of the account. So that may change, or we may be able to set defaults. But for right now, we asked users, and the account funded date, they definitely wanted control over. Okay, so now we'll go in and we'll run what we call a mock billing. So we can go to firm over here, and we want to look at all contracts, and we select all, and we hit bulk invoice. We use yesterday's values. We'll calculate for this time period. You see that there's 4 here, which we're expecting, and we can hit calculate fees. And this does a handful of things. One, it tells you what your revenue is going to be based on yesterday's close of business values. Of course, that changes over time, but we're roughly in the scope of those. This will also give you a list of alerts, and we've added considerably to these types of alerts that we give. based on what users were checking for. So if you hit this generate report right here, this will give you what we call our comprehensive billing report. Every account has a line item on it, and there's about 26 columns worth of information. On the last column are our alerts. So things like insufficient cash, which means the account is billed at a certain amount and there's not enough cash to cover the fee. That will result in the fee getting rejected by the custodian. So it can give you, by running this early, you have the opportunity to raise cash in that account to cover. So insufficient cash is the biggest one. Some of the other alerts that we've added over this year is one, pending invoices. So if any of these clients do have pending invoices, it will tell you that in that column. Again, that's important not only to make sure that you are getting paid, but also on some additional calculations we have. They run off of paid invoices, so it's important that that is kept up to date. The other alerts are something like no value available. So if you are running fees and for some reason all the accounts have a value except for one account, maybe it's moved, maybe it's dropped off, it will tell you that. It will also tell you if there are no values available for the entire group of billing contracts. And looking at my notes of the ones we've added, those are the ones we've added this year. If there are any, we always ask advisors if you have any that you specifically look for when you run this report, please let us know and we will look to add those as an alert. So our goal is to have you be working in the app on direct feedback versus you having to take the data we're giving you and compare it somewhere else. I'm getting a question like, what are the other alerts? Another one that we are considering adding is like a compare and contrast. So something that looks at the fee from this period compared to a fee from the prior period. And if they're outside of bandwidth, let's say the fee is 10% difference, giving you an alert. That might be something that is, expected that happened, but this is often a compliance check that we're asked for that says like, if an account has varied in fees for a significant amount, make sure that that is what you would expect to happen. So lots more to add there. The other thing you may have noticed is all the reports now that are being downloaded come both in a cumulative report and in an individual file report based on the custodian, based on the master. So you can see everything together and then you can see each master by itself. Different firms use that information maybe for payouts, maybe to go to different advisors, but that is available in both ways now. And I believe that Schwab will allow you to upload a cumulative fee file versus each individual now. So that's another reason why we have that. So let's say we get to I'll pause there if there are any questions coming in. Nope. Okay. When you do go to run your billing, you'll go through this exact same process. And it's really important that when you do that and you are ready to go with your billing, that you hit generate invoices. This will solidify the billing in that it keeps a record of it. It keeps a record of the calculations. And it also gives you access to those other features like the marking the invoices as paid, and then the Insights tab runs completely off of paid invoices. So in order to have a paid invoice, you have to generate it to begin with. You don't need to send those to clients, but it is good to have that record if you want to go back and look at them and then have access to the other information. And so once you hit generate, then you have completed all the calculations. You will go to invoices. They will be marked, they will be listed here as pending, and you just hit download fee file. That will give you all the information to upload to your custodian to be paid. Any questions on the billing? Okay. And I think someone had said that would be valuable. If you would please confirm, I think you mean the compare and contrast fees, um, or what you're talking about, and I'll make sure it gets marked. Okay, so let's hop over to the Insights tab. This I'm really excited about. It's um, been interesting to build and ask advisors what type of information that they are manually calculating and want to look at. And we've compiled these, what we call cards. And these cards could be, added to. We're constantly readdressing like what other things advisors want to see. So definitely added input here is appreciated. But this insights page is meant to give you an overview of your business and help you analyze where your targets are, where you currently sit, and then help you determine which clients are within those targets or perhaps out of the targets, can help with segmentation, can help you with growth as you continue to bring on clients. So I'll just walk through quickly what each card is, and any questions or feedback, feel free to pop it in. We'll start on these big cards, of course, current clients. So that's any fee contract that you have. It's a total. Your total AUM that is coming through from your custodians or that you have created accounts for. Your last collected revenue. So this is where it grabs this information from the invoices that are marked paid. So this is how much money you've actually collected over the last rolling 3 months. Of course, if you're monthly, this is versus quarterly, this is different, but this is your last revenue. If you're doing it quarterly, times 4 would be your annual rolling revenue. Your average client AUM, so that is your total AUM divided by the number of clients. So that tells you your average client size as far as assets. Your overall billing rate. So this is the average BIPs across your entire business. On average, every dollar is paying 50 BIPs. So this is a very surprising card to a lot of advisors. Obviously, these numbers are not indicative of the industry at all. But this number, typically when we ask advisors, they think it's much higher than it actually is in practice. So this is a really important number to look at and maintain. I've heard advisors, look at that number and say, okay, this is at 50, like I want to be at 70. And helping with conversations they are having with clients. It's giving them confidence. It's preventing them from really negotiating against themselves when they're asked about fees. And so one thing that we want to do is start giving industry averages here, because of course that's the next question of like, well, what are people doing? So definitely more analysis here, but you want to see these numbers grow over time. Average client revenue, so that's how much each client is on average spending with you. And then these two numbers have also been interesting. No bill assets, so how many assets you have marked with a fee schedule that has 0%. So these are assets that you are managing, but you are charging 0% on. And then unassigned assets. So these could be employee accounts, these could be just accounts that we call them orphaned accounts that don't have a household, don't have a fee schedule, like the ones we looked at when we first opened the call. So this puts some like dollars to what those things are. Again, the no bill assets is usually a surprise because those things add up over time. And then up here, the top 2 cards, this money on the table, we're experimenting with, but this is taking your no bill and your unassigned and multiplying it by your overall billing rate and saying, these assets that you are legally responsible for and probably doing some work on have the ability to bring you in this much revenue based on your averages. So that's been an interesting number to see as well. And then the last card up here on the top left corner is the additional revenue by using Smart Recon, which I will tell you more about, but I'm going to pause if there's any questions, feedback on the cards. Okay, so I'm getting a question about goals and individual clients. So I'll answer the individual clients one. We like why we're giving you these numbers. Um, we found advisors, there's always talk of like fee compression, our fees going down, our fees going up, are they adding more services, less? And we found advisors didn't have great access to this type of information in their other systems. And if they did have this information, it was being calculated manually. So that was really the reasoning behind building this dashboard. And then as far as individual clients, the next iteration of this will be including a list of clients that show the individual clients' overall billing rate, their revenue, their no bill assets. So you can see how each of your clients stack up against your average. Again, for segmentation, for raising fees, for who's out or inside your scope. And then, of course, because we have the contract piece, you can actually, if we see a client that needs their fee schedule changed, you can hit amend, adjust the fee schedule immediately, send it to the client if needed, get a signature if needed, and automatically start billing at that different rate. So this completes that full life cycle of really managing a revenue system versus just calculating fees. So that is the next piece on that. And then the last piece, Smart Recon, this is a new feature we have added. Most advisors we saw were billing quarterly or monthly in advance based on one business value. So, for example, we'll bill October, November, December on September 30th value. And that caused a lot of things to be built to try to solve for the issues that created. So, the most obvious issue is client adds money, client takes out money. How do we calculate for that? And if you have $5 million, you build it on a tiered fee schedule, they take out $1 million. Well, every dollar that comes in or out of that account changes the blended rate. And so it got really confusing and really labor intensive to try to calculate those things out. The other thing we saw was that basing your billing on 4 billing days per year is just crazy. When you think about it, it is the industry norm. But every advisor that's doing this, like right now, things get a little nervy. What's going to happen in the market on the 30th? And that is 1/4 of your revenue. And then there's, of course, different, having those conversations with clients. April 2nd, you bill on March 30th, April 2nd, tariffs come, the market draws back a ton. So we introduced this new feature. It's called Smart Recon, and you're able to keep the advance, but then at the end of the quarter, it looks back at the prior quarter and smooths out that revenue from 4 days to all business days. So takes away the cash flow problem, takes away the angst of the end of the market problem, and it also increases your revenue because markets go up over time. If you begin at the beginning of the quarter, right now we're in the end of September, the market's up about 6% last time I looked. You are not catching any of that income up to 6%. You do catch it on October 1st if it's still there, but you've missed the up. So if you've been an advisor for long, you're catching a lot of verbiage that advisors use. Time in the market is better than timing. You don't, the 4 market days. And so this just is a great way. It's an add-on to your billing. It keeps your advance, but it gives you all those other benefits and is completely more transparent for clients, easier conversations with clients when they ask. And we're seeing a lot of success there and a lot of increased revenue over time based on users. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please let me know. We can chat about it and tell you how it works. And I think that's it. I don't see any other. So someone saying, how does this work for fees collected in arrears? It wouldn't affect because you're collecting in arrears. Um, it wouldn't you wouldn't use this feature. You'd only use it if you're already billing in advance because you want to maintain billing in advance and also mitigate all those other risks I talked about. And if you're doing fee billing in arrears, you have different risks, but they're not the ones that this solves. um, so I hope that answered that question. But Um, so again, I'm Lacey. For any of you that are new, please reach out to myself or my team. I'm Lacey at smartkx.io. My team is team@smartkx.io and would love to hear your questions and feedback, how we can make revenue easier and better for your firm. So thanks so much for joining us.